Hello, my name is Harvey Franklin Cooper II, grandson of Harvey Franklin Cooper I, and son of Harvey Michael Cooper. My story of America doesn't even start here. It starts in Italy in 1912 when my great-grandfather, Daniel Ferroni, came to the United States at the age of 19. Despite constant discrimination for being an Italian immigrant, he fought in World War I for the United States. He then moved to Oklahoma where he met his wife, Clementine Ferroni. In 1926, they had a daughter, Irene Ferroni, who ended up getting married to my grandfather, Harvey, who was a geophysicist. Together they ran forest building materials until giving up the reins to my parents. As for my mother's side, Anna Maria Franzoi was born in 1937 in the city of Torino, Italy. My grandmother met my grandfather, Sergeant Major Alfred H. Petty, Jr., while he was stationed in Vicenza. They got married in 1958 and moved to Fort Bragg, North Carolina, where my mother was born. And as for myself, I was born on April 15th in the great town of Norman. My family mainly consists of my mother, Christine Cooper, my father, Michael Cooper, and my sister, Daniela Cooper, who is an entrepreneurship major at OU and plans to attend culinary school in San Francisco. My parents have been married for 25 years and co-owned forest building materials the whole time, which has become one of the most influential things in my life. If I think back to a good childhood memory, it always seems to have occurred there. But ultimately, all good things must come to an end. In 2016, after much consideration, my parents decided to sell the business that my great-grandfather had started in 1944. For this, I look up to both of them because they didn't just run a successful business, but because they ran a successful family and marriage. For college, I want to attend an Ivy League school and play baseball. And after that, my dream is to go to medical school and ultimately become an orthopedic surgeon. I know this is a dream, but it is attainable. And even if this dream does not become a reality, I know that God has a plan for me. Because I have always been fascinated by my grandfather's service in the Special Forces and what he did in one of the most elite regiments in the Vietnam War, he was a deciding factor on the topic I chose. This is my America. U.S. involvement in the Vietnam War came after the French Indochina War. The French Indochina War started in 1946, and the French managed to control communism with the financial help from the United States until 1954, when the French finally surrendered. This passed the burden of maintaining a non-communist South Vietnam to the United States. No major conflict arose until 1960 when a complete civil war broke out between North and South Vietnam. This conflict led President John F. Kennedy to send 400 special advisors to Vietnam who are all, in fact, Green Berets. Prior to the orders to be moved into Vietnam, the Green Berets were not used in a major war before this. However, by 1961, newly elected President John F. Kennedy became interested in using the special forces to help challenge communist influence, bolster pro-American regimes, and to counter guerrilla fighters of Vietnam. More often than not, Green Berets would participate in unconventional warfare, meaning that most of their encounters were by surprise and not staged. The role of the Green Berets is to also infiltrate enemy territory and create insurgencies, which is highly dangerous work. The Green Berets would also help establish remote outposts made up of fierce mountain fighters known as the Montagnards, to help stop North Vietnamese infiltration. Not only did President Kennedy push for the use of the Green Berets in combat, he is also influential in how they receive their name. While visiting the Special Warfare Center in Fort Bragg, North Carolina, Kennedy told the center's commander that all Special Forces officers shall wear their beret as part of their uniform. He believed that they should wear something to set themselves apart. In 1962, Kennedy referred to the Green Berets as a symbol of excellence, a badge of courage, and a mark of distinction in the fight for freedom. Not only were the Green Berets a major symbol in the war, but they were also a major symbol in 1960s pop culture. The Green Berets became somewhat of an icon in the eyes of Americans. In 1966, The Ballad of the Green Berets was the #1 song on the Billboard pop music charts, and it was an instant hit, selling more than 2 million copies in the first 2 weeks following its release. That's more than the #1 song in 2017 sold in 8 months. That just shows that the pop culture of the time, whether people thought the war was necessary or not, knew who the Green Berets were and what they did for their country. Music was not the only place where the Green Berets' popularity exploded. In In 1963, former World War II pilot Robin Moore became interested in writing about the Green Berets. Since he was not enlisted, he was forced to go through airborne and special forces training in order to become a journalist in the field. Upon the book's release in 1965, the public praised the book for its true grit. The book became instantly popular and turned out to become a New York Times bestseller. Part of this popularity is probably because the American consumers just can't get enough of what's current or hip, as the kids call it. Just look at what happened when Sputnik launched. The Green Berets were a very influential part to American society, not only on the battlefield because of their unusual warfare tactics, but also because they played such a large role on the home front. This topic was very close to me because my grandfather was one of the advisors that Kennedy sent to Vietnam, but also because he has become a role model for myself and what kind of determination a man should have in his life. That is my America. Thank you.